we have the story from The Guardian. RFK Jr. considers dropping out to help Trump, running mate says. Nicole Shanahan says she an independent 2024 candidate, could walk away and join forces with Donald Trump. I think I have walk away. Look at that. Here's the clip for you guys. Let's just roll tape.
There's two options that we're looking at, and one is staying in, forming that new party, but we run the risk of a Kamala Harris and Waltz presidency because we draw votes from Trump, or we draw somehow more votes from Trump, or we walk away right now and join forces with Donald Trump, and you know, we walk away from that and we explain to our base why we're making this decision. Not easy.
Clearly.
Yeah.
So I think the big story was that they got pulled off of the ballot in New York. I think that was huge news. And in this podcast, it's actually a much longer conversation. Shanahan talks about how they're basically the Democrats are waging extreme lawfare against them. And Trump's actually been receptive to their ideas. And I've been saying this. RFK Jr.'s passion for chronic illnesses and environmental toxins, that's the Trump path right there. He goes to Trump, gives Trump the endorsement. Trump should put him on some kind of board managing or overseeing this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I thought actually, I haven't seen very many interviews with Nicole Shanahan, and I actually thought this one was pretty compelling. It's obviously a deeply emotional conversation for her, and they covered a lot of stuff, including policies, but she said that the DNC has effectively sabotaged them, and they have this PAC that has been using millions of dollars to target them specifically. She even alluded to people being in their campaigns specifically to, you know, cause chaos and all kinds of problems. But I found it really interesting hearing her talk about the effect of being a third-party candidate. She said, you know, if we can get 5% or more of the vote, then that unlocks public funding for us. That means that next year in 2028, we could run a more legitimate third-party candidate, and 71% of Americans want that. I don't know where she got that number from, but I believe it. I think there are a lot of Americans who are frustrated with the stranglehold the two dominant parties have on American politics. And so when I first saw this clip this morning, I thought, hopefully she has talked to RFK and he knows that she's saying these things publicly. Otherwise, it really seems like there's chaos within their ticket. But it is interesting to hear her weigh sort of like what it means to be a third party candidate in America versus what is actually good for the country. Yeah.
But don't you feel like the fact that they're basically being bullied out by the Democrats and the Democrats using all the usual tactics, lawfare, corrupt, devious behavior, all of these things, and they're willing to actually get behind Trump if they drop out? I mean, doesn't that tell you so much?
And it wasn't even a consideration from the beginning for them. It seems like for them to join or endorse Harris's campaign. She even said, Shanahan said, she regretted supporting Democrats in the past. It's the biggest mistake of her life. I mean, that's pretty strong language. And she's saying, she had this line where she's like, we didn't want to be a spoiler candidate, but the DNC has forced us into a position where we are. And we wanted to win. We wanted a fair shot, and the DNC has made that impossible.
But she's not saying that they're being bullied and pushed around by both camps.
No, she said specifically it was not the RNC.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but doesn't that tell you so much? Mm-hmm. As the left is telling us that we're the authoritarians, we're the bigots, we're the ones abusing lawfare. This should prove it.
They installed a candidate. Kamala Harris was an installation no one voted for. That's crazy. That's full authoritarianism. And this is kind of an example of in politics. I'm a bit of an idealist just in life and in general. And in 2016, I voted for Jill Stein because I'm like, I don't like Hillary. I don't like Trump. I'm voting for the one I believe in the most. But the thing about politics is it's a game. It's like a game of organization and strategy where you vote against sometimes to get things through. Yep. You make deals with people that you don't agree with to get your part of your deal through, like what the Libertarian Party did with Chase Oliver. They basically colluded behind the scenes to get that guy into power. The two of the front runners decided together, like, let's just bury the hatchet and we'll make Chase our candidate so that Clinton Russell. Yeah. And the reality is, if you want to,
it destroyed the party. It's ripped the Libertarian Party to shreds. You've got Mises Caucus, Libertarian Party members openly endorsing Donald Trump right now. The Libertarian Party's backroom deals with their garbage candidates destroyed whatever chance they had. But you know what? I got to tell you, I was saying this morning, I would not want to be Clint or Dave if Trump loses. If you actually were the nominee for the Libertarian Party and Trump lost and they actually did get 3 or 4%, everyone's going to be like, it's your fault. That 3% could have got Trump over the line.
I was just out to dinner with Clint last weekend on Friday, I think it was, and he said the exact same thing. He's like, could you have imagined if we did it and then Trump? I was like, you guys would have got 12% of the vote, you and Dave. And he's like, we probably would have taken it from Trump too.
So here's my question for you, Ian. You say you don't know if you want to vote for Donald Trump. You'd consider voting for him if RFK drops out and endorses him, though.
Yeah, I would.
So you pointed out that Kamala Harris was installed. No one voted for her. And so we're presented with two scenarios. Let's throw all policy aside. No, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz haven't presented any. And let's just entertain the surface. Fascistic, authoritarian, threats to democracy, etc. This is what everyone's saying right now. It's polarization. It's tribal. Joe Rogan recently, he was talking to, I think it was Russell Crowe, and he's saying, it's all my team, tribal this, tribal that. I think that statement exemplifies exactly what I was warning about with these Trump influencers who are attacking Joe. Joe is like, I'm outside this, man. I don't want to be involved in your cat fight. Okay. So I don't view it that way. I think what we're looking at is the Republican Party had a brutal primary. The Ron DeSantis voters despised the Trump voters. And there was a brutal internal conflict. And even Vivek Ramaswamy, he's running. And there were a lot of, now his strategy was play nice with Trump, but see if I can muster that support from people who think Trump may not be the right guy right now. A lot of people were on Team Vivek saying, no, we Trump is great. He's a smart guy. He was mistreated. We like Vivek, though. They were trying to be very careful about how they went about it. DeSantis's people were brutal. I mean, they were absolutely brutal. They were insulting people. They were attacking them. And the Trump supporters were attacking the DeSantis people. Through this primary, you ended up with DeSantis supporters begrudgingly saying, fine, you guys win. Trump's the candidate. We still don't like him, but we recognize he's better than Kamala. There is a faction. There are numerous factions on the right who have chosen to or not to vote for Donald Trump in the primary, resulting in him ultimately being the winner. And now many people say, fine, I'll vote for Trump because I've weighed the pros and cons and it makes sense. On the Democrat side, they installed her. They cheated the primary. They ripped off RFK Jr. In the past, Bernie Sanders twice. They did it to make sure there could be no popular selection in the Democratic Party. And so surface level threat to democracy. We're looking at two front runners. Kamala Harris, it's laughably absurd, but don't disrespect the polls. Maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong, who cares? And Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the candidate of a brutal primary process and a democratic process among people who thought, fine, he's not my candidate, but I'd consider voting for him. And the Trump supporters who are screaming and cheering and banging their head saying, woo, we love Trump no matter what. The Democrat side is people screaming and cheering Kamala, Kamala, despite the fact nobody voted for her in the first place. I don't see how you don't vote Trump.
Yeah, the only way I would not vote Trump is if I really, really hated the guy or disliked him or disapproved of his policies or something.
But this is the reason I bring this up. You are not voting for Trump. You are voting for the last vestige of an actual democratic process. If the Democrats succeed, it's not just about Kamala Harris becoming president and winning power. It's about them proving they can steal it.
Man, I've been thinking that all day, dude. It's so disheartening to think that they just installed a candidate and that people are cheering.
And so on the surface, this is my point. You're not just voting for candidates, you're voting for two systems. Trump represents an ugly system where people fight. Trump is by far not the best candidate anyone could absolutely hope for. He's the best we've got. And I think marginally good in a lot of areas, particularly foreign policy was pretty good. Despite the fact many people don't like each other, we've come together and said, this is how America works. We ultimately say this is what's best for the country, even if it's not exactly what we want. The Democrats are take it or else. We control the system. You get no say. And they're celebrating right now at the DNC. Which system are you voting for? Because if the Democrats succeed in this endeavor, it lays the groundwork for what this country becomes in the next 4, 8, 12, 16 years. They are going to repeat the process. And they're going to say, we no longer need democracy. We no longer need to allow anyone vote. We, the political elites, decide who's in charge. And the people of this country have supported that.
I guess technically that's what superdelegates have been the entire time.
Absolutely.
This is just blatant. Now they've just blatantly shown us they didn't even use superdelegates this time. Or maybe they did. I'm not sure how they installed her exactly.
They did, but they decided outside of a primary. The primary chose Joe Biden. And they knew from the beginning this was, you will never convince me they didn't know that we were going this direction. That's why I'll scream it to the high heavens. In September, I think 13th, I put out a video on my morning show saying Biden will not be the nominee. I said, after everything we've seen, I have no idea how he could possibly be the nominee. And of course, I had my doubts after that. I'm like, man, it's March. I don't know how they pull him out, if it's even possible. They did it. Everybody was predicting this. We knew they were playing a dirty game, a shadow campaign. My point ultimately is this. Donald Trump has policies. I think mostly good. We can argue some of them and say, well, that one doesn't seem right. He's had bad hires. He had Operation Warp Speed. We disagree. But at least it still represents people choosing through a democratic system. If you don't support that, it doesn't matter what Kamala Harris supports because we don't even know what she supports. She's lied and she's got garbled nonsense and no policies on her website. You are basically saying autocratic America from this point forward.
I like that. I like the idea, not the autocratic America, but I like the idea that you're voting for a system and not a person.
I think it's terrifying. I don't think it should be that way.
Shouldn't be.
It should be that the Democrats offer up someone who's marginally good and the Republicans offer up someone's marginally good. And we go, oh, we roll our eyes and say, well, look, ultimately there's a few social issues. This is how it used to be.
Don't screw it up too bad. Good luck kind of thing.
Now, the real American election was DeSantis versus Trump. That was the actual election where we're trying to decide, do we want a Ron DeSantis style governance? It's calm. It's less ostentatious, I suppose I can call it, or Trump, which is more aggressive. Trump represents slightly different policies from Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis is a little bit more, I think he represented the right populist faction a bit better than Trump did. Ron DeSantis was very critical of some of the things that Trump had done, and Ron's governance in Florida very much reflected the will of many, like the popular positions of the right. But Donald Trump has the charisma to win. So there was a big debate over whether Trump was the right guy, DeSantis was the right guy. Long story short, we chose. We voted.
Brandon, when you walked away from the Democratic Party, was it because of the way that they handled the 2016 election with Hillary subverting Bernie? What was it exactly? Was it in...
No, I was a big Hillary supporter, and I actually supported Hillary going back to 2008 when she was, it was her versus Obama, and then when it became Obama, I got behind him and I supported him. No, for me, it mostly had to do with the media and the way that the media manipulates and basically carries water for the Democrats, because when Trump got elected in 2016, the media that I trusted, CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, et cetera, by that point, they were saying he had a 3% chance of winning. So I didn't even question that she was going to win in a landslide. It was 100%. So then when she didn't, I was like, what the hell just happened? How is it possible that the media that I trusted got this so wrong? And also, they've been saying for 18 months that he's the second coming of Hitler. Why would anybody vote for him? Not only why did he win, but why does anyone support this? And so my journey began with asking these questions. How did the media get it wrong? Why would anybody vote for him? And then I just kind of went back to the beginning of the campaign and I researched every moment that they had lied about. Did he call Mexicans rapists? Did he mock a disabled reporter? Did he advocate for, expelling Muslims from this country? And what I discovered time and time again was in every single instance, they were taking something that wasn't true at all, but isolating a soundbite and kind of creating their own narrative, and that they're just basically a propaganda arm for the Democratic Party.
Thanks for watching this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to check out the live show Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. on this channel. Subscribe and we'll see you all there.